Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and I've got a preview today for you of an upcoming Tier 8 Premium American Medium Tank, the T25 Pilot 1, that you'll be able to get your hands on for free if you manage to complete 13 daily missions over 15 days. But more on the details of the missions later. Let's take a look to see how the tank stacks up to other Tier 8 American medium tanks to see if it's worth bothering getting. So here we have the T25 Pilot 1 on the left, the Ripper pattern, the T95E2 and the Pershing, all Tier 8 American medium tanks. So all of these tanks use the same 90mm main armament, and as we can see, the T25 Pilot 1 has higher DPM than the Ripper pattern and the Pershing, but slightly lower than the T95E2. Penetration-wise, the T25 Pilot has the best penetration along with the Ripper pattern on its standard rounds, and if you're so inclined and want to fire APCR, then you've got 243mm of penetration and 1021 meters a second shell velocity to look forward to. I should highlight, however, that the premium rounds on the regular Pershing are far and above that of the T25 Pilot. And as we can see, those premium rounds on the standard Pershing are still absolutely monster. 268mm of penetration and 1219 meters a second velocity. That's something that you should watch out for on the T25 Pilot, that you're probably not going to have enough penetration to go through many Tier 10 tanks frontally, or even many Tier 8s and Tier 9s that are heavily armored. Furthermore, the ammunition loadout on this tank is quite limited. For a vehicle that uses a 90mm, it carries 20 rounds less than the Pershing and the Ripper pattern, and 14 less than the T95E2, which can feel a little bit punishing when you start to run out of armor-piercing rounds in a very good matchup, or if you've had to fire an exceptional amount of APCR rounds when you're in your +2 matchmaking. So how about the gun handling? Well, that is what is excellent on the T25 Pilot. It's got 2 seconds aim time, half a second better than the Ripper pattern, and 0.3 better than the Pershing and the T95E2. And also the accuracy is joint best at 0.36 along with the T95E2. Furthermore, the vehicle has better dispersion values than the regular Pershing, and they're only just worse than the Ripper pattern, but when you take into account that this vehicle has a half second better aim time, this means the gun handling on the T25 Pilot 1 feels a lot more like a Tier 10 medium tank rather than a Tier 8 medium tank. And it almost goes without saying that this vehicle has 10 degrees of gun depression, as pretty much all of the Tier 8 medium premium tanks do. So how about the mobility? Well, the T25 Pilot really isn't limited here. 55 kilometers an hour going forwards, that's faster than the Ripper pattern, the Pershing, 1 kilometer slower than the T95E2, 20 backwards, that's decent, but its power to weight ratio is a little lacking. 14.2 to be exact, which is way less than the Ripper pattern and the Pershing, but look at the ground resistances, 0.5 on hard. That is nearly 3 times as good as the Ripper pattern and over twice as good as the Pershing. And it's the same kind of story when it comes to medium terrain resistances and also soft, and so this means that the T25 Pilot 1 really doesn't suffer at all with that poor power to weight ratio. So far we found out that it's really got a better gun than the Pershing, it has better gun handling than the Pershing, and its mobility is just as good if not a little bit better. So where does it all go wrong for the T25 Pilot 1? And we can clearly see that is in the armor. Its armor is 76.2mm at the front, and that is rather awful, guys. Let's check this out in the live version. Even if you're angling this kind of an angle, they can still clearly go through your front plate. 175mm when angled like that. Now for the side armor, different parts of it are at different thicknesses actually. We can see the front is 50, 50, 50, 50, and then you reach the rear part of the tank and it becomes 38. So this means that you're going to be able to side scrape with this part of the vehicle all the way up until 151mm caliber guns, but you are going to be overmatched along the back half of the vehicle with 120mm guns. So that is something to certainly take into account when you're trying to side scrape to force a shot from an opponent, and if you are somebody shooting at one of these tanks and you can hit the rear part of the vehicle, you've got more chance of overmatching, again with 120mm caliber guns and higher. In addition to this, the turret armor of this vehicle is rather weak as well. Look, 100, 100, 70, it's got some cupolas that are very weak as well, and the turret ring is not that exceptional when you look below the mantlet as well at 100, but there is a saving grace on this tank, and that is the mantlet. It is 200mm thick at its thinnest part, to the left and to the right of the gun, and above that it goes up to about 300, 400mm in some parts. This is very effective indeed against something like a Type 59. Let's take a look at this example. So we can clearly see that the 181mm of the Type 59 were not enough to contest the mantlet of the T25 Pilot, but how about the FCM 50T with 212mm of penetration? So use of this mantlet will be super effective against pretty much all tier 6 tanks and tier 7 tanks. Some tier 8s it's still going to be useful against, but as soon as you're having to deal with tier 9 and higher, then you're really going to struggle to have any armor on this tank whatsoever. So now the final statistics of this vehicle. It's got a standard 1,450 hit points, 390 meters view range, which is the same as the Ripper pattern, and disappointingly 10 meters less than the excellent Pershing view range. And also this vehicle has quite a high chance to be set on fire, 20% if its engine is hit. And so it certainly is a little bit risky to give up that fire extinguisher like a lot of us love to do. But anyway, I think that's quite enough theory crafting. Let's see how the T25 Pilot 1 performs in some gameplay. So rolling out on Siegfried Line Encounter, and I am playing on the live server on a test account, and that's always the best way to be able to try out these vehicles. The test server itself is a bit of a wild west, right guys? Everyone's slinging those premium rounds as if they were free, and you know what, they might as well be free. So to be able to test this tank on the live server and get a true feel for how it's going to perform is always a pleasure. So now check out the mobility of this tank. It doesn't look like a vehicle that has a 13 power to weight ratio, right? And it's a lot like the Soviet medium tanks at high tier, that even though they've got a bad power to weight ratio, Wargaming fixed their hidden statistics, the ones that you don't see in the garage, their ground resistances, which do have a profound impact on the mobility of the tank. And that's why the Pilot is skipping along there more like a very decent speed medium tank. Although one thing that isn't very decent, however, is the accuracy. As we can see there, there's 0.36 accuracy, sorry. Not really doing very well at the Chaffee. But a bit of collateral damage there. It looks like the Emil on the enemy team manages to... Oh, it must be the... Yeah, the Emil on the enemy team kills our Leopard and his Chaffee as well. Yeah, certainly collateral damage. Will this IS-3 pop round the corner? Doesn't look like it. Now in this kind of position, I'm really just trying to pump out some view range for my team. I'm feeling quite confident in this kind of a matchup, and I think that my view range should be better than that Black Prince's, especially if he's moving. Even if he's using coated optics, he's going to be pretty much as blind as a bat, I should think. And I'm even able to shoot around at him there without getting spotted. We'll be able to hit him again. No, he does pull back around the corner. So with 3 artillery, I do need to watch out for using this position. If they're situating themselves at the back along the K line, it's going to be rather awkward. Here we go. We're going to be firing a shot at the T28 prototype. That one does go in, our second damaging shell of the game, but I do get spotted this time. I'm a little bit greedy, however, and I try to get a cheeky shot in. We actually managed to track the T28 prototype, hitting him in the rear tracks there, I believe. And I tried to loop in another shot at the end, but unsuccessful in doing so. Nevertheless, I got rid of his repair kit. He's been rather aggressive to get into that position. Let's see if we can get some shots in. Oh, the Black Prince looks like he saves the KV-85 from a damaging shell. He misses me, but in this kind of position, remember what I was showing you guys about the mantlet of the tank? The mantlet does do exceptionally well. Doesn't do well against artillery shells, I guess. I'm quite lucky that he did so little damage to me there, to be honest. 257 damage isn't a lot to lose from a tier 6 self-propelled gun. So not having much luck in shooting out against the KV-85, I decide to make my way in, and we get to shoot an IS in the back of the tank. We critically hit him. That's probably fuel tank damage, possibly even engine damage back there. Could be anything really. And oh, he's using the 100mm rather than the 122mm, which means that his aim time is way better, his accuracy is way better, but we can lock down his tracks. Is he going to repair to be able to fix it? Can't quite shoot through there, so I'm going to come around the corner, seeing how he fired, put one into the lower plate, and pick up our first kill. And in fact, it looks like the IS was firing APCR rounds at us there, but completely unnecessary, because unless he's shooting at the mantler, he's not going to struggle to be able to get through the hull of this vehicle. And that's something that a lot of people are probably going to be quite disappointed with this tank, that unless you are going hull down and only exposing the turret and hopefully the mantlet of the tank, then you are going to hemorrhage hit points. Good spotting mechanics there. The Tiger manages to disappear even though he's sitting kind of in front of me. Looks like I hit him, possibly damaging him as well. And I decide to fire another one, but we see that it clearly whizzes past round the corner, meaning the Tiger has pulled back. No point in firing a second one there. And as I do get spotted, I guess by maybe the Tiger or possibly the T28 prototype or even a proxy spot from the KV-4, I need to pull back before the artillery slam one into me. So really kind of standard stuff here for the T25 Pilot. Just looking for the opportunities, seeing what we can get our hands on, and I decide to track the IS-6, and now I'm going to load a premium round because that 180mm of penetration isn't really going to do very good against the front of an IS-6, but, well, 192mm I should say. Well, I might actually stand a chance there, but 243 is going to be so much more reliable for finishing off the front of the IS-6. But would you believe it, the Liberté finishes him off from behind, so that means that I waste one of my premium rounds. I've got one more premium round loaded. Am I going to change it for an AP round? I don't really need those premium rounds in this kind of a matchup, and now that the IS-6 is down, unless I want to go through something like the back of the T28 prototype. One thing that I realized I just did there is I kind of tunnel visioned a little bit, looking behind me to wonder if that Emil was going to flank me down the alleyway, because you don't want to allow a Swedish autoloader to get you in the backside. That I missed a shot into the Tiger there. But, you know, I guess not too bad. The last thing that I want is to have that 105mm autoloader, which will just remove the remainder of my hit points. I'll take a shot from the Tiger instead. And he's got a very decent rate of fire there, so I don't really want to mess with him. And I'm happy that I didn't tunnel vision there, because it looks like the T28 prototype wanted to get a shot into me. And a sneaky Jagdpanther slaps me from the back of the map. But just look at the assistance damage we keep racking up. 2,000 so far. Certainly not bad. By putting yourself in these kind of aggressive positions in your medium tanks, you're going to be getting loads of credits, you're going to be getting loads of experience, just for spotting out. And I think this is one of the specialities of what this tank is going to be good at. Sure, it sacrifices a lot of its armor, but it does gain those ground resistances which allow it to be quite a mobile tank at 55 kilometers an hour forwards, and also not too bad backwards at 20 kilometers an hour. So from here, I really want to just start to poach some of the vision out. They've got a couple of tank destroyers who haven't been spotted. I know that the Jagdpanther shot me from the southwest, so he's likely to be around the K45 area. And I think if I can spot him at the back, then he is going to get absolutely obliterated. I'm also trying to look for opportunities to spot artillery. There's the Hummel. I can shoot him in the gun, I believe, and also damage his tank, but I'll be rather lucky to be able to hit that. And I was. Look at that. Great result. I should load a high explosive round here, really, but I don't. And oh, wow. Lucky twice in a row there, as we do manage to finish off the Hummel just before the artillery shell lands in for almost certain death. So now just advancing along, look how this vehicle cuts through the medium terrain. An M12 decides to advance up. I try and shoot him in the track, but he stops. That probably means that I'm not going to be able to finish him off because of the mediocre rate of fire. Don't quite manage to get it. Going to shoot at the M44 instead. Get revenge for that round that he put into my turret earlier. But I've got to be really careful here, because if that Jagdpanther shoots me, I'm a 50-50 whether I die with 338 hit points. The Jagdpanther actually just disappears, but I remember where he was, put a round into him, get revenge on him too, finish him off, and this M12, oh, luckily we managed to avoid him, put a shell into him, pick up our 4th kill, and now we're really starting to rock. Now we've broken the eastern flank. Doesn't look like there are going to be many more vehicles out there, apart from possibly the SU-152. So let's try and work to take this M44, the KV-85, and possibly even get some shots into the T28 prototype who are towards the middle of the map. So from this position, we are starting to look really dominant, and it's just a case of hunting down this artillery. And this has been a great game for this tank so far. 3,000 damage, 2,500 spotting, but there's a little bit more left to do. Can we put a round into this KV-85? Is that one going to be my top gun? Yeah, there we go. Top gun right in. Maybe we can pick up another kill on the T28 prototype. Oh, looks like he's just behind a barrier. Quickly. Oh, I'm never going to penetrate the front of that tank. But I can try maybe shooting the tracks if he continues to go on forwards. Maybe in the side of the turret. No, the artillery indeed finishes him off. So that means Detective QuickyBaby's on the case, and there must be an SU-152 towards the southeast. All right, let's go get him. You don't really have to be a genius to work out where that SU-152 is most likely to be. But all in all, I hope you guys are seeing what the gun handling is like on the T25 Pilot 1. You can whip shots in, you can fire on the move. It does feel like the sacrifices that you make in the armor of the tank, and possibly a little bit of the power to weight ratio, although it does have excellent ground resistances, do kind of pay off with the top speed limit of the tank at 55, and importantly being able to whip in the shots quickly. And also still to have fairly decent mantlet armor, you can pull off some bounces. Although we haven't really been seeing that so much in this game. But of course, unless you are hull down, getting engaged by hopefully lower tier tanks, then your mantlet armor isn't really going to work at 200mm of effective. So here's our result. This was an ace tanker for the Pilot Number 1. We get a Pascucci's medal for killing 3 self-propelled guns, a scout medal for spotting at least 9 opponents on the enemy team, in this case 11, also a high caliber for the 3,577 damage that we dealt, and a top gun for the 6 kills. And this was 1,730 base experience points. What a monster game. That's 2,600 with a premium account and 260 bonus just for being a premium vehicle. So how about the credits? Well, I fired a couple of premium rounds this game, so that's a 20,000 ammunition cost, but we still make 114,000 credits profit. Very nice indeed. But I hasten to add that this was a very nice matchup for the tank, and when you do get into your tier 9 and tier 10 games, you're probably going to have to dab that 2 key a hell of a lot more if you want to remain competitive and stay alive a little longer. And it's in those kind of games where this vehicle is certainly going to struggle compared to, for example, an FV4202 with 226mm of penetration on its standard rounds. But nevertheless, I think the T25 Pilot 1 is a great tank for those of you out there who are willing to sacrifice a hell of a lot of the armor to be able to gain those ground resistances, the weapon handling, and also a little bit of DPM over vehicles such as the Ripper pattern and the Pershing. But on the other hand, for a player who's just starting out to round about the mid kind of skill level, I think you're probably going to have a lot better results with a Super Pershing, because that frontal armor and that riot shield all the way over the front of the tank is just going to be so much more forgiving. Plus, this tank has preferential matchmaking and never has to meet any tier 10. And if you don't really care about playing American premium medium tanks because maybe you want to train some crew, then really the Patriot has better DPM, better penetration, better ammo capacity and shell velocity. Sure, it has worse gun handling and its mobility. Actually, look, its power to weight ratio is better than the T25 Pilot 1, even though it's a heavy tank, but its ground resistances are shocking. But look, its armor is just going to be so much better, and you're going to be able to ricochet all tier 6 and tier 7 tanks off the front of your hull, and your mantlet is just as good, if not better, on the Patriot. But the key thing about the T25 Pilot 1 is that everybody is going to be able to earn this tank for free, and you've seen how many credits this tank makes, right guys? So if you're a free-to-play player with a lot of time on your hands, then this is an awesome opportunity to be able to get something that's going to make you a lot of experience, but ultimately a lot of credits the whole year round. So how are you going to get it, you might ask? Well, starting from today, the 12th of March at 6 AM and running until the 27th of March, i.e. 15 consecutive days, they're going to be running special mission marathon series. Now, I'm pretty sure there are going to be different missions on every single day, but don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely sure yet. And the first day is going to require you to win 5 battles and finish in the top 10 of your players based on experience. So not too bad. I guess you've got to play about 10 games of World of Tanks for a 50-50 player there. So I guess that's going to take you about maybe an hour and a half, depending on how quickly or how slowly your games go. But you're also going to be rewarded with a personal reserve plus 100% crew experience for 2 hours if you also complete this on day 1. Now, I have no idea if the rewards are going to be as good as this every day. This might be kind of like a special reward to be able to get as many people starting as possible. Or maybe they're going to get even better later on, who knows. But realistically, it looks like you're going to have to play for about an hour to an hour and a half, 13 out of 15 days in a row, and that's because you can still miss 2 of the missions and receive the vehicle. But that likely means if you're the kind of player who is away on business and can't play during the week and plays during the weekends, that this isn't going to be a mission series for you. But if you come home in the evenings or you're on holiday for the next couple of weeks, this might be an awesome opportunity to pick up a full price premium tank that I think is rather competitive. So next you might be asking, well, what happens if an emergency happens and you miss out on a few of the days? Can you still get your hands on the tank? Well, as always, it looks like there's a token system to be able to skip out on doing the missions if you don't have the time to do so, or if you just can't be bothered. And as the compensation price for the tokens is 600 gold each, it looks like they're each going to cost about €3. But depending on how many days you complete, this might be a nice option to top it up to make sure you still get a tank that's pretty much worth about 9,000 gold for cheap. And so there you go, guys. That's all you need to know about the T25 Pilot 1. Hopefully you appreciated this video, or maybe you just enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and let me know in the comments what you think about the T25 Pilot. Do you think it looks like a garbage tank? Do you think it looks just as good, if not better, than the Pershing? Do you want to get your hands on one? Are you going to bother to complete the missions? Or are you worried to see how hard they're going to get later on? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.